Hello, 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 beautiful people. How are you today? Today is another episode of Relaxed and Raunchy Relationships with me, Ingrid Galloway, and accompanied by my super awesome podcast guest. Um, Her name is Karen O'Connor, and Karen believes that everyone has an extraordinary story to share and that we all have the potential to inspire and contribute positively to other people. Oh, I do believe that too. The Menopause, Marriage, and Motherhood podcast, very specific target market, I reckon. Good on you, Karen. YouTube channel and blog, middle-aged woman stuff, was created out of desire to both share those amazing and often hilarious. I'm all for hilarious stories.
I know.
As well as wanting to connect with and support other women who are going through the interesting transition of midlife. I am peri-menopause, so I have a lot to learn from you. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thanks, Ingrid. Thanks for asking me on here. And for the people who are watching this on my channel or listening to it and don't know Ingrid, Ingrid is the founder and relationship coach and chief relaxation officer. I've got to say, we're going to talk, well, we talked about that in the podcast that I did with you, of KAHYANGAN, which means heaven. And it's a wellness clinic in Sydney. She's been a relationship coach for 11 years and a spa therapist for 21 years, mainly working in 5-star hotel day spas in Sydney. So she's used to looking after thousands of highly stressed clients from all over the world. She practices from KAHYANGAN, is that right?
Yeah.
And from, as well as from clients' homes, offices, and in hotel rooms, as well as online. Her work's always focused on stress, relaxation, and relationships. She does one-on-one coaching sessions, group workshops, and soon virtual and in-person retreats for the broken-hearted singles and loving couples, which is just fabulous. I think we all need some of that.
I know. Let's escape with me, baby.
yes, totally right. I'll be talking to you closer to that time because I know so many people who are really interested in doing something for themselves because like you say, you know, you're in perimenopause now. Yeah. I'm in menopause. Yeah. And everything changes. The way our minds work change, the way our bodies work, our expectations. You know, it is a point in our lives where it's time to take stock of everything. The kids are leaving home and it's time to reassess our direction and where we're going. So it's a huge time in life for people, for sure.
I know. It's about adjustment, isn't it? Because it doesn't last just 1 year.
Oh, no.
It takes how many years?
Probably about 10, I reckon, like the average. The actual, and the trouble is, and this is the one of the main reasons why I started this and why I wanted to communicate with people is we often don't realize that we're in perimenopause or that perimenopause actually has its own set of symptoms and implications and everything else until we're well into it. Like I went to the doctors and said, you know, I'm feeling a bit depressed. I feel all weird. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm not sleeping. She just gave me antidepressants and some sleeping tablets and said, oh, you'll be all right in a few years, like literally. But I didn't think to discuss it because we were going through a lot of stuff at the time. I never connected it to the hormonal changes in my body. Did you know, for example, and I only found this out the other week because I've been doing a bit of research, but there are 36 unique symptoms for menopause and perimenopause. And they've all got like sub-symptoms as well. It's not just like, oh, you know, you don't sleep or hot flashes, which is what everyone knows about. No, there's 36 actually distinct symptoms.
Wow.
But we don't know that unless we start talking to people. And that's the important thing, connecting with people and being able to say to somebody who understands, you know, I feel really crap today. Like, I'm just going to rip somebody's head off. Somebody's going to die. But just being able to say that you feel like that often just disperses the whole feeling. You know, you don't feel so caught up in yourself, so trapped or misunderstood. I had a lady in my group the other week and she said her husband thinks she's making it all up. He doesn't believe it. at all. So
Yeah.
that
Therefore, there's
kind of
the need of education
the
for
need of, yes,
partners, especially because it's a big change. I mean, for us women that's going through that, of course, it's a massive change, but also for our partners.
yes. My my husband will quite happily tell anybody that on several occasions he's actually written a list of pros and cons of staying in the relationship, because and it's great to have that commitment, you know, that he goes, okay, right, we need to sit down and really look at this now. But at the same time, it's really scary to think that, oh, did I change that much? Am I that different that my husband feels like he's married to a monster? I'm not the person that he's normally married to. But another thing that came out in the last couple of months for me was, you know, the kids do sex education at school.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, what came out, my daughters were both at a very, what should we say, traditional Anglican school for a while.
Yeah.
And their sex education, and I kid you not, consisted of you and your husband discuss it when you get married. Until then, refrain from any sex till marriage. That was their sex education classes. Isn't that nuts? But even so, they kind of knew about periods. They kind of knew about, you know, this is how you get pregnant and the actual mechanics of it. Nobody talks about menopause. Nobody talks about childbirth. So talking to my own daughter about childbirth, and I said, well, your body changes permanently, like it's irreparable unless you have an awful lot of cosmetic surgery. And even then, there's some stuff you're just not going to get the same as before you had the baby.
Yes.
Mortified. She did not know that that was the case. And then we started talking about menopause, and she's like, why am I born a girl? Mum, this is not good.
So Karen, here you go. You will be the pioneer in menopause, perimenopause education, especially for kids and partners.
Yes, it's so important, because otherwise we are left feeling misunderstood and alienated and isolated. And it is about just, this should be common knowledge, like girls going through puberty or boys going through puberty. It should be common knowledge. And that's the big thing. The other big thing, I don't know if I've gone completely off topic here, but the other big thing is that in our society, we look on menopause as a society, I'm talking about here, as it's the end of our useful life, basically. When you've hit menopause and you can't bear children anymore, then you're just kind of hanging around, waiting to look after the grandkids until eventually you pop your clogs and die. Like, that's what it is. But in
That's very depressing.
it is, isn't it? And it's one of the reasons why so many women in Western society get depressed and don't know why. It's like, oh my God, the end of my useful life. You know, what do I do now? And what's my husband going to do? Is he going to find somebody younger than me who can bear children, who still looks like, you know, she's got the nice skinny hips and everything? It's really important. In a lot of traditional societies, and you can tell me about how this is in Indonesia, but I know in the Pacific Islands and in North American indigenous people, menopause, when a woman hits menopause, that is the point where she goes from contributing to a single person at a time in raising children to being a leader in the community. So they look on it as her wisdom and energy up until that point had to be put into creating, bearing and raising children. Yeah. But beyond that point, she is then able to take care of and contribute to the community as a whole. So at that point, she becomes a wise woman. That's the one. And she's not counted as useless. That's actually when she becomes more useful to the tribe. Yeah. And so it's seen as important as going through puberty. As a boy going through puberty, the woman going through menopause is of equivalent significance. So it's that kind of thing that kind of thinking needs to change in our society. That's what I think anyway. I don't know whether...
Amazing. So, well, I think that's kind of cover your why.
That was my why.
My next question, what is your why? But I think you just eloquently and passionately explain everything. I passion. That's awesome. That's why I said, here you go, Karen. You will pioneer in menopause, menopausal education.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So now your question.
My question for you.
Yeah.
So what is your why? Why do you do what you do?
Right. Because I came from Indonesia, as you mentioned.
Yep.
And I was brought up in a very religious family, but then I observed throughout the years how living with such culture and upbringing, I got injected, or my family, people around me got injected with a lot of shame, guilt, and suppressed anger. So, and that didn't sit very well with me. So eventually I always longed to go overseas, and I couldn't live overseas until I get married. Therefore, I got married first time around at the tender age of 21 to my long-term pen pals. After 6.5 years, we had long distance relationship being pen pals, so we got married eventually. And unfortunately, that marriage was an abusive relationship, so 10-year marriage. And then I left, after 3 attempts. And I gained beautiful things such as depression, anxiety. And in my self-healing journey, then I went to various self-development seminars, seeing a couple of therapists, went back to college to study counseling and life coaching. And straight away I knew that I would be a coach niching in relationship area, because I'm really passionate and compassionate to help others in similar sort of predicament. But also, after meeting my second husband, hopefully my forever husband, we've been married to 12 years now, so not too bad. My husband said, "Yay, I'm winning. Your previous marriage was 10 years. We're on our 12 years now." He's very competitive. I'm winning, thank you. And when I had my kids, first one was okay. I was feeling bubbly, work until the end of my pregnancy. I was feeling well. But then the birth itself, it was very traumatic birth. So 5 days, labor 5 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then the second child, unfortunately, I had pre and postnatal depression. So, the healing journey. So it's kind of like up and down sort of journey. Very grateful of 2 beautiful daughters. But I am really passionate and compassionate to help people in the mental health department as well, because some moms especially can experience some depression, some anxiety. I mean, I'm not equipped to handle serious mental case. I will refer definitely, but then a lot of people are highly stressed, some depression, some anxiety, and I am inspired to help them, so they can have a happy, fulfilling, content life together with their partner. So yeah, that's my why.
Can I ask you, just going off your why a little bit, what religion are you? Did that have an impact on you wanting to leave and the reason that you got married?
I'm Christian.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but now I'm no longer, very religiously practicing Christian. I'm more spiritual, but, Christian.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Just some things about it that I disagree about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still believe in God.
Yes. I'm the same. I was brought up Anglican, and I keep to the tenets of the religion. I agree with that, but I don't agree with a lot of the manipulation that goes on, and
Yes. Okay, so now we're up to tips from our guest speaker. 3 tips on moving beyond what can stop us in midlife. Karen, do tell.
This was an interesting one because I kind of went, well, I'm not an expert. My expertise is simply that I've gone through perimenopause. I'm now in menopause, and all I can do is share what worked for me and what works for the other ladies in the group that I'm in and people that I've spoken to. The big one, the really huge one, is find out about menopause and perimenopause before it happens, so that you yourself recognize what's going on. So you're not just weirdly depressed or not sleeping, or, you know, you've got this weird rash and you don't know where it's come from. That's a classic one for menopause, perimenopause, but we don't know that. So a big thing is to find out about it and start talking about it before it happens, so that you're prepared and you can go, that's what it is, rather than getting depressed and anxious and upset because you don't know why all this stuff's going on. The second one I kind of said in that, which was talk to people. It's really important not to isolate yourself. It's important to talk to people, because also when you start sharing yourself, you don't know what the other person's going through and whether that's going to open up something for them as well. So just talking to your friends, to, you know, people that you join some groups on Facebook or off Facebook, you know, if you don't like Facebook, and just start talking to people, start discussing it. And the third thing really is share what's going on with your family. So make sure that your kids know what's going on, and your husband
include everyone.
Include everybody. I have a friend, and she said one of her things when she was going through perimenopause was she'd get up in the morning, and if she felt particularly bad, she'd walk out of a room and she'd say to the family, I am not fit for human consumption today. You need to leave me alone. And that was just that they discussed it. How were we going to handle it? You know, if she felt really bad. And that worked for them. And I thought that was genius. I wish I'd had that one, because there were some days I was really not fit to be involved in life. I know that hormonally I was just not. So those would be the three things, which are basically share and talk. All three of them, just variations of the same thing. Share and talk and find out.
Yeah, amazing. I truly believe in sharing. However, that's why I also love to empower men, not just women, because men don't tend to share. I mean, women, we like to chat, and then men, not necessarily. You know, they, hey, how's it going? Good, everything's good. And then where do you go from there? You know, you don't share. It's like, yeah, everything's fine.
I'll ask my husband when he's been out with his brother, what did you and Steve talk about last night? Oh, nothing. That's boring. I don't know. I'm assuming she's okay because he didn't say anything. It's like, what do you talk about?
Can't talk about the weather forever.
But yeah, you're quite right. It's important. And I think because guys have been taught not to share themselves, this is one reason why they can't necessarily relate to what their wives are going through as well. You know, it's just a big stop. Let's all start talking and working together and supporting each other.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. We have to move along.
Thank you. We do. So, okay, sorry, I went a complete blank. So give me 3 tips on your area of expertise as well, because I'm really, raunchy relationships. Let's talk about raunchy relationships. What are your 3 tips? And I'm going to change the topic after, because I'm going to go to relaxing. What are your 3 tips for raunchy relationships?
Right. Today, what I have prepared earlier, is like cooking. This is what I prepared earlier. Cooking show. No, this is not a cooking show, obviously. One thing that a lot of people, especially midlife, experiencing is about infidelity, you know, like, midlife crisis, you know, what happened? My husband is cheating, or I sense that my husband is cheating. So the question is, what changes in my partner's behavior that can indicate that they are cheating? Right? So typically they may not be present when they are with you. Maybe they're elsewhere, somewhere else in the thought, right? Or reaching out to their phones regularly, you know, either checking or communicating with the other person. Yeah. Secondly, they may hide various financial information from you. Thirdly, they may choose to spend less time with you because they are needed elsewhere. Okay, not always the case, but that's the top three that I can think of, indicators that they may be cheating. Doesn't happen just once, not happen just twice, it has to be several times.
Yeah.
Then you can ask them the question. Tip number two, I know this infidelity is one of the top three causes of marital or relationship breakup, apart from communication and money, right? But it doesn't have to be yours. It can be worked out. So if you're willing and open, that is, yeah. If you're not willing, not open, then that's it. Finish. You need to know what are your top three non-negotiable items in your relationship and lay it on the table in the beginning of your union. Yeah, so be an open book, discuss before. That's why I am actually pro
Prenup. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind prenup because you know what you're getting into. You set it up before you jump on it. Yeah. I know some people doesn't like prenup, but I agree with the concept of it.
Yeah.
So if infidelity is one of your top three non-negotiable items, then either you cut them off right away, or if you still love them and have a room, just a small room for forgiveness, yes, the road to recovery may be long and arduous, but worth it. It's worth it either for your own growth or for both parties' growth. Straight away, I recommend reach out to a professional help, such as engaging with a relationship coach, but it can be a great, yes, painful, but great experience. I'll explain why in point number three. So point number three, if you are willing to work things out, you need to find out the core reason why your partner cheated on you. Maybe because you've been absent yourself, maybe related to menopause, peri-menopause, hormonal changes. We're absent. Well, when we're pregnant, we can always blame, pregnancy brain. We're not pregnant anymore. What can we blame? So, because you've been absent yourself, for example, they throw a tantrum like a child to get your attention. Okay, so that may be one of the reasons. You need to find out what his or her reason is, when they cheat. Once you are aware, then you can make the necessary changes. It may begin with cutting the ties with the other woman or the other man and focus on healing yourself and healing your partner. But honestly, going alone on this tough healing journey can make you very wary. That's why I recommend reaching out to a relationship coach. And I reckon a lot of people are like slow boiling frogs, right? The relationship is uncomfortable, just like warm water, because the water is warm, it's bearable, the relationship is uncomfortable but bearable until you reach the point of boiling point, and suddenly guess what? You're dead. You're boiled, just like the frog. So sometimes the frog needs a hot iron, hot, then jump out of the almost boiling water so it doesn't end up being dead. So depending on your perspective, infidelity can be the wake-up call that you need. It's a tough concept for some, I know, but if you can go through it, it can be a big win in your life. So those are my 3 tips.
Wow. Yeah, that's actually perfect. Yes, because it is something that midlife women face. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, quite a lot of them. Yeah, often it's like, oh, my husband is going through midlife crisis. There you go. Big motorbikes,
red cars,
red car, red chick. So yeah. Now, people, we are going to the fun part of the podcast. Mind you, we've been having a lot of fun, Karen and I, so far. I hope you are too. So Karen said 2 statements. Number 1, my daughter projectile vomited into the revolving glass entrance doors of a 5-star hotel, spraying vomit all over the concierge and guests. Statement number 2, my son put his head through the railings at school on a dare and couldn't get his head back out again. He had to be rescued by the fire department. Oh my God, both of them sounded very juicy. I'll pick number 1 because that sounds juicier.
That's actually quite right.
Oh, okay.
My daughter, we turned up at this hotel in Sydney, very, very expensive hotel. And my daughter used to get car sick. She was about, I don't know, 7 or 8 at the time. And we got out of the taxi that we'd arrived at the hotel in. And I said to the rest of the family, look, I'm going to run in and just check in, because once I get her into the aircon in a cool bath, she'll be fine. Yeah. So I ran through. And I'm just at reception, I'm getting everything signed. And my eldest son walked over to me, he said, Mum, look. And I turned around. And these were like 4-meter high glass revolving doors with like full height glass windows at the side of it. And she'd hit the revolving door and the whole thing had just sprayed everywhere. It was all over the lobby, it was all over the doorman and the concierge. A couple of guests had caught it. Like, it was a disaster zone. It was hilarious. I was so embarrassed. But the other story actually wasn't my son. That was my brother. My brother actually did that when he was little and had to be rescued by the fire department. They had to like push the railings apart. So yeah, both true stories.
Oh dear me.
And what about you? What are your funny stories? So your stories were your sister turned into a monster when she started taking the pill, or your client turned into a monster once she started taking the pill. I'm going to go for your sister. I'm going to go that it was your sister that did that.
Oh, boom, boom, boom. I'm a single child.
Oh,
I'm the only child, so I don't have a sister. Hence, number 2 is correct. Yes, my client, she just gave birth to baby number 4. Oh my God, she's been very productive.
wow.
I know, it's full on. It's full on. And then her doctor recommended the mini pill. All right, so she said, oh, Ingrid, honestly, I've tried every brand in the chemist, trust me, I've tried every brand, and every time I give 1 month a go, not just 2 days, 3 days. No, I give every box a month test, and I end up with being the same, highly irritable, get angry all the time. And she had to register her baby's name to the registry. And then the person asked, so what's your baby's name? Sidra. What? S-I-D-R-A. And then she said, sorry, I just gave birth. I'm not normally like this. So she said, Ingrid, be warned. So from now on, I warn people, hey people, I'm just taking the pill. So be warned, I'm going to turn into a monster. But last week, she just changed her contraceptive method. So fingers crossed, she's going to be better. Not a monster anymore. You see, hormones, you talk about being a monster, and hormones is amazing, the effect of hormones in our body.
Yeah, it is. So as you're going through perimenopause and menopause, you actually don't make any sense because there's too many hormones ranging around. You turn into a teenager, but at the other end of the scale, or a pregnant woman.
Yeah. Or a pregnant woman.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Be warned, people. Be warned.
Yeah.
Hey, Karen, last question. What do you do to either relax or add raunchiness to your relationship?
So relax inside of it is easy. I go swimming. I've always been a swimmer my whole life. And I just find that, looking at the line on the floor or looking at the line on the ceiling, that just kind of really stops my brain from working. Or the other thing is I ride my horses. So those are my 2 big relaxing things. Yes.
Fabulous. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So, people, we come to the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today and watching. I hope you enjoy that. We certainly had oodles of fun. I hope you are too. And Karen, if people want to connect with you further and talk more about menopause and perimenopause, how can they connect with you?
So the easiest way is I have a Facebook page, the Menopause, Marriage and Motherhood Facebook page. They could send me a friend request, Karen O'Connor, MMM on Facebook. Just search me, look for the lady with the purple hair, you'll find me. And I would love for everybody to join the Facebook group. So I have a closed Facebook group, Menopause, Marriage and Motherhood. You search for it, you'll find it on Facebook. And there's a few hundred women in there, mostly midlife women. There's a few younger women as well, a few older women, but it's just about sharing knowledge and connecting and finding a community where we feel supported. So I'd love for everybody to join that. If they fit the bill, they're going to be female.
So, ma'am, no.
No, man.
Okay, that's all right. Fair enough. No problem. And people, if you want to chat more about relationship, ask me more questions, please go to my website, www.kahyangan.com.au. That's KAHYANGAN.com.au, and request for a free chat with me. Okay, so next week we will have another super duper guest talking about another topic. So hopefully you can join us next week. In the meantime, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ingrid Galloway, and keep well and lots of love. Thank you so much, Karen, for coming.
Thank you, Ingrid. It was great. Thank you. Bye.